Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Gary A. Swaby, and you're now listening to the Powercast, episode 27, I believe. And we're going to be recapping Power episode 6, season 5. And I'm here with Mr. Richard Bailey Jr. How you doing, Rich?
Doing pretty good, Gary. What's up, listeners and viewers?
Indeed. Dana isn't with us this week because, she's not feeling too well at the moment. So we're wishing her all the best and hoping, she pulls through and feels a lot better soon. And hopefully she'll be back for, the next episode and everything. But yeah, it's just us today. And yeah, what an interesting episode of Power that was. I'm not sure if it was interesting for the right reasons, but yeah, there's a lot to unpack with that episode. So I'm gonna get straight to the elephant in the room here. Um, why are we seeing Jamie, St. Patrick, and Dre team up again after this whole season kicked off with, Kanan, Jamie, and Tommy wanting to kill this guy, and now we have them coming up with an agreement together, and they basically want to use each other to basically, do their hard work, like they want to basically use each other to kill somebody, and I don't understand why they can't just do it themselves. But yeah, Richard, what was your thoughts on this moment? Because I think this is going to definitely be the most questionable, the most what the fuck thing of this episode that people are going to be talking about. So what's your thoughts on Jamie and Dre coming up with this agreement together?
Well, first and foremost, to answer the question, I'm going to answer the question as a power executive on the show would answer and said, hey, well, Jamie is a changed man, so he has to look at things from a different point of view and figuring that he will, try to take Dre down later. I mean, we will get into the other stuff in this particular episode, but yeah, I think if I had to make a guess, this whole season, the writers have been trying to surprise people. We've been seeing certain people team up that you wouldn't necessarily see. Like last week, we saw Tommy and Angela working together, and that caught some people off guard because we know Tommy does not like Angela. But this one definitely, absolutely, positively was very questionable. Obviously, Jamie still doesn't like Dre and probably has some intentions to deal with him later. But the writing to explain this whole thing is very confusing from my point of view. Now, obviously, we can admit that Jamie is trying to use Dre to get what he wants, and Dre is also trying to use Jamie to get what he wants. But when they had the discussion and Jamie agreed to kill Diego, and Dre agreed to kill Jason, I thought, wow, there was no hesitation whatsoever on that agreement. Now, the funny thing is, as we know, Tommy is put the tracker on Dre's car, and you see that Tommy, like everything is about to become a lot more unstable between everybody's relationship on the show. Tommy obviously is not happy because Ghost told him, well, we can't work together anymore. You can't put your money through the club. And that exchange was interesting. We'll probably get into that as well. But I just think, they did say this season they was going to have a lot of different things to throw people off, to keep them on their toes. But I don't really understand the logic behind this because for the whole half of the season, it was like Dre is untouchable. We can't find him. Oh, we know where he's at, but for some reason we can't find him. And now all of a sudden in this episode, Tommy, it was very easy to find Dre. You found his car, you put the tracker on his car. The previous episode they saw when they went to the airport. So they can easily get this guy, but the stalling and all this other stuff is it feels for me like the writers are stalling to stretch out the season so that it meets the whole 10 episode arc, and that by the end of the season you'll have a fully fleshed out understanding as to what's going on. But some of the stuff, it drags on a bit, and I think this episode I think it was some of that. But just to one final thing I will say about Dre and Tommy. I'm going to say Dre and Ghost. This needs to be going somewhere that's going to make sense. I mean, for me, it's very predictable that obviously Dre, as soon as he finds out that Tommy has been tracking him, he's going to think Ghost is behind this. So it's going to backfire on him. And then when that happens, because it will happen, I'll be very curious to see how they explain that whole situation. But no matter what, you know, I know Ghost says he's a changed man, but if he's trying to do all this illegal stuff with Dre, he is not changed. It's still the same Ghost. So we'll have to see how that pans out.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Like it just seems really corny to me at this point, and I feel like they like the writing used to be so good on this show that I think they wrote themselves into a brick wall. Like I think it was so good for so long that now they just can't top it. Like they've set up all these different angles, and it's like there's no satisfying way they can deliver, you know, they can wrap it all up and tie up all the loose threads without there being plot holes now, because it was just, you know, they made a lot of crazy stuff happen in the past that surprised us, you know. And I guess like they've peaked now, and they can't really match that, you know, level of surprise that they gave us before. And you know, now it's just, you know, I don't know, like it's all over the place right now. um and
Well,
I don't know, I know they changed writers or something, like some of the writers are different. So I don't know how much that impacts things. But what was you gonna say?
I just was going to say I'll be very interested to see what the other script was like. You know, when Courtney Kemp said that they actually was going to kill Dre in the first episode of this season, I would have been interested to see how they would have handled that, because looking at the show now, they obviously are building up this whole thing with Tariq against his father. And I think that that would have been the real threat if Tariq was working with Kanan. Eventually, you're seeing Tariq become his father. But at the same time, because they didn't kill Dre and they kept talking about, well, Dre is Ghost 2.0, it's just it's confusing to have all these different elements coming together, because I think to see what they're doing with Tariq and now how he's making his turn to a life of crime is a far more interesting thing. But now, like you guys had said on the last episode, it makes you wonder who was the enemy, because there's too many different angles that they're trying to take with as far as Dre, and now with Dre and Ghost, and it just doesn't make any sense. But again, you know, I have to believe that because they decided not to kill Dre in the first episode, I guess we will find out in the next couple of episodes just exactly what the plan is. Because my guess is if you decide not to kill a character, you have to have another alternative idea that's better. I want to see what that is. But this whole thing team up with Ghost is just completely random. Needs more explanation, and yeah, I wasn't really too much of a fan of that.
I think it would have benefited from them killing off Dre early on, because like there's just like his writing in particular has been all over the place all season. Like it's like, okay, is this guy really as like dangerous as he's been portrayed to be? Because it seems like he's making a lot of mistakes. His own team is, you know, kind of like going against him. And like there's been many occasions where we've seen Tommy or Jamie or whatever get in close proximity of him and nothing happens. So it's like, yeah, it's all over the place with Dre in particular. Like he's becoming a big problem to the writing in the show, in my opinion. So I think he should have been killed off already. Because then, you know, it would have been a lot different. And because like you said, all the other different plot things going on are way more interesting than Dre, what's going on with Dre. You know, like especially what's going on with Tariq. Like that's the most powerful thing in the show right now. So if you give more shine to those things instead of this whole Dre thing, then it's automatically a stronger show, you know. So I think they should have killed Dre off already, because they're doing a bad job of maintaining this tension between Dre and the trio. So yeah, they should have probably stuck with their original idea. But yeah, I guess we gotta see where this goes. Because I'm not buying the reason that they're creating this union either. Like, okay, so Jamie wants him to kill Jason, and he wants Jamie to kill the Jimenez. Like, they could have arranged for this to happen without each other. So it's like, what was even the point in the first place? You know?
That's true. Plus, as Ghost kept saying throughout this whole episode, he's a changed man. So how is he going to arrange to kill somebody when you just went to church the previous week, say you want to be a better man? Well, let me become a better man by now killing once again. And I've already done that. So who is he going to get to kill? Because now he has a bit of a strained relationship with Tommy. You know, I'm pretty sure that little scene they had where Tommy, you know, he told Tommy that Tommy was in trouble with Jason. You know, he's going to have to explain to Tommy at some point, you know, to try to take out Jason, but that relationship is strained, and I think they will come back again to that by the end of the season. But yeah, it's a lot of stuff that's up in the air with this whole alliance with Dre now. Obviously, Kanan doesn't know anything about it. Tommy doesn't know anything about it, and I think that lack of communication is going to cause even more issues among the three of them as the season continues.
Oh, for sure. And because especially since Tommy has the tracker on Dre's car, so that's definitely going to come into play here. And I don't know, like maybe when Dre is trying to kill Jason, maybe Tommy is going to show up because, you know, he's tracking him and stuff. So
that's true. That's true. And yeah, and Tommy has his own issues as well, which we'll get into. But yeah, that's we'll see how that plays out. But I definitely have to say I was not a fan of that particular revelation that now Ghost and Dre have a deal. I'll be very curious to see what all the commenters that usually comment on this show have to say and whether or not they agree or disagree, because they may also say they are not a fan of this new alliance, but we'll see about that.
Yep. So let's get to Proctor. So some interesting things happen with Proctor in this episode. You know, Mock goes to visit his you know ex, I think it's his ex-wife, and she's doing her rehab thing, and you know she basically lets Mock know where Proctor's cousin Benny is, and you know Proctor's actually talking to Benny at this point, you know, asking for advice and everything, and talking about the body they made disappear and everything of the Agent Bailey. And Mock actually shows up, and again he's trying to put that pressure on Proctor to talk and everything. And yeah, like, so what do you think is going on with Proctor right now, and is he going to be pushed to the point where he has to snitch on Jamie and Tommy? And do you think that's coming this season? Because his back is really against the wall now. Like, they just keep piling on this pressure on him, and at some point I think there's going to be, you know, there's going to be a breaking point where he has to flip on Tommy and Jamie, or at least Tommy. Like, I think he'll at least give up Tommy, maybe, because he seems to, you know, have a lot more respect for Jamie. But what do you think is going on with Proctor right now? What do you see in his immediate future based on what happened in this episode?
All right, so first off, I have to say Proctor took the ultimate L this episode. So many bad things happening. And then, of course, at the very end, the last scene we see him was when he went to go give the alimony check to his ex-wife, and he had managed to put a pill in the same envelope, thinking that she was going to take it, snatch it up, and that was it. But then she said, nope. So now he's giving her even more motive to want to go after, to go against him, which isn't good. It's not good for him. As far as where I think they're going to take the character, if I had to make a guess, I mean, we already know that they have confirmed that Power is getting the 6th season. If I had to make a guess, this is going to be like in the season finale. He is going to flip and maybe turn on Tommy. Yeah, there's no real reason for him to go after James. And believe me, James has a whole bunch of other things he has to be concerned about. But Tommy, yes, because of the fact that Tommy killed that guy in his house. I mean, I'm pretty sure if that incident never happened where the guy got killed inside his house, then at that point, then there's that whole situation with Tommy wouldn't have been, it wouldn't have gotten to that point. But the thing is that, we already know that Tommy did threaten him, saying that he didn't want him to say anything. But again, this is all going to have repercussions because the whole thing with that situation with Proctor, obviously he cares about his daughter and he doesn't want to lose his daughter. If he has to choose his daughter over Tommy, he's going to choose his daughter 9 times out of 10. And I'm pretty sure any good parent would do that. So the issue here is that if he feels like his daughter, because we already know the mother is unfit to take care of the daughter, she hasn't proven yet that she can handle being off drugs. So the daughter would end up in a foster home or somewhere else, completely different. So I think if it comes down to it, and he feels as though he's going to do time and be away from his daughter, he will rat out and just say, yes, this is everything that I know. But I do think Tommy is the main guy who he would have a lot to say about. And we already know that if he wanted to get the assistance of Angela, because they had that discussion at the beginning of the season, that may not be an option for too much longer. But yeah, Proctor did not have a good episode. I am glad that we finally got to meet the cleaner because I initially thought that it was the same guy from Breaking Bad, but I said no way, it's that's who it is. So glad that we finally figured out who the cleaner was. And we do know that they do illegal stuff because it's a family business. Maybe we'll get to find out more about that because the guy did tell him, well, you can, if you get this far, you can always come back into the family business. I thought that was interesting. They said that for a reason, but they didn't really elaborate on what all the family actually does. So they may revisit that later, but I think for now, if it really gets even more serious than it is for Proctor, I absolutely think he will rat out Tommy because he does not want to lose his daughter or see her go somewhere else. So that would be my guess as to what's going to happen.
Yep. Either that or Proctor's going to end up dead.
That absolutely can happen. I hope that doesn't happen. I like the actor. I like what he's brought to the show, but well, we do know one thing. Some people definitely going to die before this season is over. And it's some big characters. Yeah, I think they have to do that going into season 6. So we'll see. We'll see about that.
Yeah, if some major characters don't die this season, then the writing is going to continue to suffer at this point because there's only so long you can drag things out. So some big characters are definitely going to have to die. But yeah, I pretty much agree with you there. So let's move on to some of the juicier things that happened in this episode. So let's get to Tommy. Of course, we know that he was using the tracker for Dre. I know last week we were speculating whether he was trying to figure out what Teresi was doing, but he actually used it for Dre. And yeah, of course, we got the whole Teresi thing going on in the background too. And when Jamie shows up to let him know that he can't clean the money and everything, we see Teresi visit Mock and Sax, and he's like, "Yo, stop putting so much pressure on Jamie and everything with the audits because that's spooking him, and I can't give you the big fish." So yeah, like Teresi's doing some major snitching right now, and what bugged me is that Tommy's still kind of acting a bit ignorant towards it because last week I thought Tommy was becoming more aware of it and more spooked by it, more suspicious. But this week it was like he just kind of completely dismissed it. And he was even, when in that scene when Jamie visited him to tell him about the money, he was like, anything you say to me, you can say to my father too. So yeah, Tommy's acting a bit ignorant, which it doesn't fall in line with how he was, in previous episodes. So yeah, what would you think of what's going on with Tommy right now on the show?
I think you made a very good point that he definitely is a lot more ignorant this week than he was the past week. There is part of me that thought in that final scene when he met up with Sammy and his dad, there was part of me that was thinking, oh, Tommy could be setting them up. But obviously, the show ended. So they'll continue that whole thing, next week. But yeah, I would say, yeah, they're a little inconsistent with Tommy right now. Obviously, he comes from a place of he has so much on him now. He's in so much trouble having to deal with Jason, having to deal with the police, all of this different stuff going on. So obviously, he does feel as though he can confide in his father. And we know Ghost, who he's great friends with. It's like a brother to him. He does not really want to confide in him now because Ghost is trying to change his ways and trying to stay clean, but also while worrying about only himself. Well, that's the perception he gives to everybody else. He's only concerned about himself. So in terms of what they're doing with Tommy, I'm not really sure where all this is headed. Obviously, he still wants to take down Dre. Doesn't really know about this whole alliance between Dre and Ghost. And once he does find out about this eventually, then he really won't trust Ghost. I mean, this can set up so many things that are going to be very dangerous and volatile moving forward. So I'm not really sure what they're doing with Tommy. The fact that they make him a little oblivious, but we'll have to see how that goes.
Yeah, it's just one more thing that makes me, not like the writing at the moment, because it's like the past few episodes, I was really liking Tommy. I was really high on him, and I was like, yeah, he's actually, kind of smart. He's paying attention. He knows what's going on. He's got wits and everything. But, then in this episode, they just do a complete 180 with the character, and, he's back to being dumb old, Tommy again. And that really bugs me. I don't know what's going on with the Sammy and the Tony Teresi scene at the end, but I'm hoping we get more insight on that. But I definitely feel like he's going to cross paths with Dre in the next episode for sure, just because, Dre now has that mission to take out Jason, and Tommy actually has to kill Dre. So, that's one of the orders that Jason gave to him. He has to get rid of Dre and Jimenez and stuff. So, yeah, I definitely think they're going to cross paths, and I'm interested to see how that's going to play out and whether Jamie is a factor in that at all.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Those are very good points. And one thing I want to say real quick, just to go back to what you said about Sammy and Tommy, I understand exactly what you're saying with the writing with Tommy, because after what happened with Sammy and the fact that he messed up the whole deal with the Italians, for him to just sit back and think, oh, Sammy is just totally cool with working with me now. He doesn't want to get it. He doesn't want to get any revenge on me because of what I did for him to lose business. No, he's totally cool with that. That's just not smart at all. So, yeah, he should be a lot more cautious. The fact that Sammy just is so quick to jump to work just like that, nah, man, I would be a lot more cautious of that and really investigate as to see what really is going on between his dad and Sammy. But I guess we will have to wait and see if there are changes next week. But we just have to wait to see how the story initially pans out. But that was, I understand what you mean when you say that's a little sloppy on their end.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and I guess this is a great transitioning point, because one of the other characters I want to talk about is Angela. But firstly, it's like Tommy now has another ally in Angela now, because it's like she's helping him also. And we know there's a lot of heat on Tommy right now coming from different directions, the teresi thing, and obviously, the fact that he killed Agent Bailey, that can come back to haunt him at any time, especially with Proctor being under so much pressure. But he has a stronger ally now in Angela. But the thing is, Angela also has some pressure on her, as we saw this episode. So it seems like the entire investigation now is going to kind of shift focus to exposing Angela as well as bringing down Jamie. But it seems like they're really doubling down now on catching Angela, especially with that new evidence. Well, not new evidence, but like now they have a clearer understanding that it was Angela who hid that evidence with, you know, the ballistics and everything. Um, and we also saw another union kind of form, and it's the, you know, another trio essentially between Jamie, Tasha, and Angela, which is interesting. Um, so it seems like, you know, the more this goes on, Angela is becoming a key part of, you know, the bad guys, I guess, or the, you know, the main characters on the show that are doing the dirt and everything like that. She's basically one of them now. And there's even scenes where she's, you know, instructing Tasha on how to lie to the police and things like that. So she's definitely not on the straight and narrow anymore, and she's definitely vulnerable. And I want to see how much they're going to push push the boundaries of her character and make her turn into, you know, the bad guy or the bad woman in this case. So what do you think of the whole Angela thing, the whole Angela storyline that's going on right now, and, you know, her aligning herself with Jamie, Tommy, and Tasha?
Well, I hate to tell you this, Gary, but your woman is about to go down, and she's about to go down hard. Um, yeah, you know, I mean, at the end of the episode, when they found the ballistics evidence, I was like, oh yeah, that's it, that's it. And then I see everyone has like a little sense of, well, the black lady in charge had like a sense of like shock. Oh man, yeah, Angela is the enemy. This is not good for Angela at all. Okay, one thing. Okay, let me just talk about a few things. Obviously, her and Tasha working together. We saw that at the beginning of the season, and now that Jamie knows about it, you know, I like that Jamie is willing to trust them to try and handle this situation. Although I think by the end of that episode, it is very clear that it's not going to be handled, and they have some things to worry about. We know that Angela's team already had it out for her. They obviously still need to get more evidence on Jamie, because they don't really have everything they need to have. They need on Jamie yet to really say anything about him. They got Angela. They got Angela hook, line, and sinker, because there's nothing she can do at this point. So very bad situation for her. And of course, to go back into the writing, I saw that they revisited the reason why Jamie left Angela in the first place. And we saw Milan in the flashback, because we remember Milan had threatened to kill her. So good that they went back to that and explained that, because I figured they were going to explain that at some point, make that known to both of the characters. I want to give the writers credit on one thing at the very least, and that is that we did not get a sex scene between Jamie and Angela this week, because we didn't need to. You know, you needed to really emphasize things have changed. The relationship is strained now because, you know, Ghost was not honest in telling her what really happened, what was the real reason for the breakup. So I'm glad they didn't go the cliche route of having them hook up, because at the end of the last episode, I thought, oh, somebody's about to get busy at the beginning of this next episode. So I'm glad that they didn't do that, because they need to show that these people have more to them. It's not just about sex. And obviously, this is a very serious situation for both Ghost and Angela now, as far as them potentially getting caught by the police. So I'm glad they did that. But I will say, Angela, man, it is not looking good. And this Detective Blanco really has it out for her. I have to say, you know, her and John Mock, these are the two characters that I absolutely dislike now, because they are so good at their job, but they will stop at nothing to take down whoever they need to take down. So I respect it, but I do not like either one of these characters. They're very annoying and just a little too aggressive with their approach to the job. But yeah, Angela is in a lot of trouble. I'm very curious to see what happens moving forward. I do believe that what they are going to do, because they've already done this in the last couple episodes, when they find certain things, they try to keep it away from Angela. So they probably won't tell her right in the beginning, "Oh, we know you're involved in this." They may hold out on that and then try to get some evidence to show that Ghost is guilty of his crimes, and then they'll bring it together and say, "Yeah, both of you guys are under arrest." But again, we'll have to see if they approach from that angle.
Yeah. Yeah, I do see them playing the waiting game and just letting her hang herself and, you know, getting more evidence in the meantime. But I do think that whenever they are ready to move on St. Patrick, they are going to bust Angela first, because then that's an easy because they can try to flip her to basically snitch on Jamie. You know, that's probably, they probably see that as an easy thing to do because she's associated with them anyway. But yeah, I don't know, like the way it's going now, I don't like something serious is going to happen with Angela by the end of this season. Like either she's going to lose her job, or she's going to get arrested, or she may even end up dead. I don't want her to die, of course, but
well, I know Dana wouldn't mind seeing her die.
Yeah, but so something has to happen with that character now by the end of the season, because there's too much evidence against her now. There's no way she can come back from any of that stuff. So she's definitely losing her job in some way, you know, whether she's getting arrested or she's just getting fired or whatever. Like something is gonna happen to Angela by the end of the season now.
I agree with that 100%, and it is the perfect parallel. Because if you recall last season, at the end of that season, she got promoted. So it is truly a fall from grace a season later. So yeah, I agree. Something serious is going to happen with her. I would say she's going to do some jail time. But they may, like you said, they may say, "Well, give us everything you know on the St. Patrick's," and she may be in a position to do just that, because we already know they want to take them down, but they especially want to take her down too. So we'll see how it plays out.
I think what might happen is they'll bust her and then they'll offer her immunity like they offered Tasha, and like, you know, to basically flip on Jamie. And I think she'll realize that she's still so in love with him that she won't snitch, and then, you know, she'll end up in jail because of that. That's probably likely to happen, I think. What do you think about that?
That I would say that that's definitely likely to happen, and the alternative to that would be is that she does snitch on Ghost. You know, see that is the struggle, because they had their whole conversation, and Ghost is trying to become a changed man, and he knows that he has to do that. But the issue is that there's still so many loose ends that have to be tied out, and you're not going to solve those issues in a positive way in which nobody gets hurt. So I just think there's so much going on. Him still being affiliated with Dre, and the fact that he told her the last episode, that makes him look bad. I mean, there are so many things, so many factors that makes this whole situation look really, really bad. So I do think that she, because if she loves him, because she didn't really say it, even in this episode, when he asked, "Do you still love me?" she didn't answer the question. She just looked at him. So maybe, as you said, her statement will come by her actions to not say nothing about him. But I mean, I still think that there's going to be something that happens beyond that, because, yeah, as you said, something serious is going to happen. There's too many people involved, too much evidence mounted against her. So we have to wait and see how everything develops from here on out.
Cool. So we are going to talk about your boy Tariq as well, but before we get there, so we mentioned it already. Tasha, you know, she was actually brought in for questioning over the weapon, you know, the murder weapon and everything. And of course, Angela was helping her, assisting her in terms of how to carry herself and what things to say and what they're going to say and everything. And during the interrogation, they make it clear that, you know, it was Angela who found the evidence and everything in the first place, and that they also offer Tasha immunity to flip on Angela and Jamie, and admit that, well, they think that Jamie was the one who killed Ray Ray, but obviously we know that's not true. But yeah, they basically wanted Tasha to admit that, and they even tried to make out like Angela and Jamie were trying to set up Tasha to take the fall. But she doesn't, one thing I like about Tasha is she's a writer. Like she won't give up Jamie under no circumstances, no matter how mad she is at him. Like, she's definitely not snitching. And I like that about her character. So she doesn't snitch, but then at the end of the episode, she confronts Angela about being the one to find the evidence. And then, she confesses, well, not confesses, but she reveals to Jamie that she's going to use Terry because Terry loves her, and she's going to get him to lie for her. And mic drop, and then she leaves Angela and Jamie together in the apartment. So what did you think of that whole play from Tasha and the way the episode ended with that and everything, and her going to use Terry now? What's your thoughts?
Well, I think first and foremost, I think Angela. I mean, it was. I mean, Natari did a good job acting this episode. Yeah, like you said, she's a ride or die. She didn't rat out the ghosts. However, I do feel as though they have planted the seeds for that to change now, because certain things that she didn't know, like the fact that Angela knew about that bullet, that's not a good look. And then the fact that she sat up here and told Ghost about Terry. Now, my initial reaction when I saw that is like, well, it's not as impactful as I wanted it to be, because Ghost doesn't really care at this point. He doesn't love Tasha anymore. Oftentimes you see these shows. I'm going to use an example such as The Affair, maybe, where somebody does cheat on the other, and then the other person is furious, angry, and they want to beat up the other person. I don't think Ghost even cares about any of that. One thing I did want to say, though, because they did show a quick little preview trailer for the next episode, and in that trailer, it showed Ghost talking to Terry, telling Terry, I need you to corroborate Tasha's story. So if he is going to be meddling with that whole situation with Terry, and Terry decides not to help out Tasha, then there definitely is going to be a situation where she absolutely will take the deal, and she will send Ghost and Angela down the river. I definitely think they have planted the seeds for that to happen, though, now, because of this whole situation, and the fact that you tell him, oh, I already have a plan. I'm going to tell Terry. She should know, listen, you can't trust everybody. I wouldn't have told them that information, because now this will give Ghost the leverage to try to go in there and say, hey, Terry, I know what's going on, and try to talk about the situation. So I would have never said what my plan is. I would have just said, I have a plan, have a good night, that's it. Walk out. Don't say anything else. But because she said that now, that opens things up. Whereas if Terry does decide to work with Ghost and try to say nothing, we'll see how that goes. But Terry is in love with her, as she said. I found it a little funny when she says, "Oh, he loves me more than you've ever loved me." I mean, that relationship hasn't lasted that long. So I laughed when I saw that. I'm like, come on now. The sex must be really good for you to say that. But there's no way in hell you can say that. You've been with Jamie all this time, years. So I just don't buy that. But I definitely think the fact that she brought him up in her statement, in her testimony, I don't think Terry is going to like that information when he hears about that, because you've gotten him involved in this as well now, saying that he saw her put away the gun. That's not good. So I think she may mess that up herself. And if she does mess that up with Terry, once again, I think she definitely will go after Ghost and Angela, even though she's held out all this time, not trying to get personal with Ghost. I think she will do that if things continue to go south.
Yeah. I mean, like, Terry has already kind of warned Tasha as well. Like, I think Terry, even if he does kind of love Tasha, he's loyal to his job. Like, he lives by his job, and he's warned Tasha about, you know, doing the wrong things and trusting Jamie and things like that before, and he said that he's not always going to be, you know, be there to help her if she continues to, you know, walk down that path and walk that road. So he's kind of warned her. He's been hesitant, you know, in terms of lying and things of that nature before. So it's not really in his character to lie like that. And we saw, you know, even when he was speaking at the hearing with Proctor, you know, he didn't even hold down his friend. Like, you know, he was like basically telling the truth. In that, you know, he wouldn't even lie for Proctor, which is essentially his partner or whatever. So I don't know if Terry's the one to trust with that. So I want to see how that plays out. And like you said, if Jamie's going there to tell him to, you know, because I didn't see that preview, by the way, but if Jamie is going to tell him, you know, to lie for Tasha and everything, what that tells me is that Tasha probably already went to see him and he refused to lie for her. So, you know, if that's the case, then I don't think he's going to be the one to trust with that in the first place, and there's a chance that he might flip on all of them. So
that's true. That's very true. So it's not looking good for Tasha either.
Yeah. And like you said, if Tasha is put in that position, she really might flip on Jamie or Angela, you know. So I don't know.
I really do think if push comes to shove, she definitely will do it. I mean, we already one thing that we have seen this season is that anybody can turn on anybody at any given moment. Just like the whole thing with Teresi, who plans to take out his own son Tommy. Just like Kanan, when he had his boys go and do that whole drive-by for Vincent, and he took them out because they decided to use real bullets. So I think, yeah, anybody can turn on anybody, I think. And I think that turn is coming with Tasha because they teased that last season when they kept asking. The whole campaign for last season is who was going to turn. And we didn't really get a full obviously we found out Jamie at the end of the season. Well, that's not because he was already out of jail. But yeah, all I'm saying is that anything can happen from here on out. So we have to see how they decide to handle that. But the Tasha situation, saying that she loves Terry, and you ain't even known Terry that long. That right there is, man, she is whipped. She's the one that's whipped.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like because she's made it clear that her priority is to save Tariq, you know, like she doesn't want to bring any harm to Tariq, or she doesn't want him to take the fall for the murder. So if it comes down to either Jamie, Angela, or Tariq, she's definitely gonna, you know, flip on Angela and Jamie before she does Tariq, you know. So
oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And once again, Omari gave a great speech talking about wanting to change and trying to figure things out, but obviously no one believes him. So it's going to be truly heartbreaking when something bad does go and somebody does turn on him, and that is coming. And of course, he doesn't know anything about his son yet, but yeah, it's coming.
Yep. So let's get to his son. Now, like last week, the episode last week had some phenomenal acting from almost everyone on the cast, to be honest with you. But this week, like I don't know, like that scene where, you know, Tariq was hanging with Kanan, and you know they beat up that guy or whatever, and they're trying to get away, and the traffic officer stops them, and he fakes an asthma attack or whatever. Like that was some bad acting, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, that was laughably bad.
That scene was terrible. But yeah, so we see that, you know, Tariq has started to hang with Kanan again, and Kanan's kind of got it into Tariq's mind where, you know, he wants to be independent so that he can get away from his father, because throughout the whole episode, Jamie is trying to call him and text him and everything, and he just doesn't want to hear it. And the only way, you know, Kanan tells him the only way to, you know, get out of your father's, you know, um, leadership or whatever is to make your own money and get away, you know, become fully independent. Now he's away at his school, so you know he has some level of separation at least, but his father is funding that. So yeah, now we see Tariq is kind of getting back into drugs and everything and selling drugs. He's trying to sell the pills and everything, and he's rolling with Kanan. Kanan goes to pick up some money or whatever. So yeah, like I think this is definitely the makings of Ghost 2.0 right here. It seems like this is the path that's going to lead to Tariq becoming that new Ghost. And they've been, you know, kind of building towards that for a long time now. For perhaps maybe like 2 seasons or something, they've been kind of building up to that. And it seems like we're getting closer to seeing it now. And it seems like he's going to be making some money. And I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of this episode he completely moves out. Like he might even stop going to school, and he might just move out on his own or something like that, or with friends or whatever. So yeah, I think this is really the point. This is the turning point where we're starting to see the new Tariq. And after that argument with his father, I think that was kind of like the last straw of him being the young, you know, the son Tariq. You know, now he's seeing himself more as just an individual. So what do you think about Tariq and his actions in this episode?
Oh, I agree 100%. First and foremost, as you already mentioned, the whole asthma scene, yeah, that was very bad and also completely unbelievable because I mean, I think Kanan, you know, it had to start in the conversation with the guy. It was easy to convince him, but I don't think any guy is going to just say, "Oh no, just go, just go, just go." I don't know. I don't know if I like that, but I will say him teaming up with Kanan was very interesting to see. And of course, him showing Kanan that he is taking control. Like when Kanan asked him, told him about, hey, well, at least your dad took care of Ray Ray. He said, no, he didn't do that shit. I did it. So obviously, you know, Kanan likes that. Definitely is developing a bond with Tariq. So I agree 100%. This is his transformation to Ghost 2.0. Now, we'll have to see where it goes from here. Right now, all he's doing is he's involved with the drug thing. Of course, he killed Ray Ray, so I don't really think it's far-fetched to think that he can help out in killing someone later on down the road. But yeah, he definitely has now turned away and onto a different path. And I'm very curious to see exactly what they have in store for him moving forward. I know a lot of people said that they disliked Tariq's character because last season, then of course he got his sister killed, and then they were still annoyed by him by the beginning of this season. But I'm interested to see what they're going to plan to do with him moving forward because it can go in so many different directions. And then obviously we need to see how his interaction will be with Dre moving forward. Whether or not because of course now he's cool with Kanan, but Kanan has a beef with Dre. So I'm curious to see how that whole situation is going to play out. And then of course Tommy and Ghost told Kanan to stay away from Tariq. So a lot of this stuff is going to come to a head in the next couple episodes and see how everything comes together. But obviously we're definitely headed for some rocky territory with all of this stuff. But yeah, Tariq's turn. Yeah, I think sooner or later this was going to happen because he was already involved with these other guys in the previous seasons, doing other stuff that he shouldn't have been doing. So let's see where it goes from here.
Yeah, I just thought of something crazy, like a crazy theory. You know, now this might be far fetched. I don't know, but so what happens, right? Like, okay, so we know Tariq has some sort of friendship with Dre, right? So the ultimate bitch slap to his father would be, you know, what if Tariq somehow wriggles his way into Raina's, you know, project that they're working on, you know, with with Tate and everything. Like, imagine if he somehow worms his way into that situation and takes that away from his dad or something like that. Because, you know, Raina was his sister.
That's not a bad theory.
I mean, it's just his age that kind of, you know, goes against that, because he's probably too young to get mixed up in that stuff. But still, there might be a way for him to kind of, you know, sabotage that for his father.
Well, see, one thing that we do know for sure is that he definitely is going to be sabotaging a lot of stuff for Ghost moving forward. It's a question of what, in regards to that project, you know, that's going to be interesting, because we know last week Tariq had the conversation with Tommy, and Tommy told him Dre is the enemy. So now I can see if he sees Dre working with his dad, knowing that his dad said he's the enemy, he's going to be like, well, once again, my dad lied. Like, he's been lying to me my whole life about everything. So like I said, I'm very curious to see how his interaction with Dre is going to be the next time, whether or not they're still going to be buddy, which they may be. But if he knows that Kanan doesn't like him at all. And then the other thing is, you know, I'm curious if Kanan knows that Tariq has this close relationship or somewhat friendship with Dre, because he may just tell you use Tariq to get to Dre and then kill Dre. So there are multiple ways that they can go with this whole situation. But I'm very curious to see what his interaction is going to be with Dre now that Tommy has already had that conversation with him and told him Dre is the enemy. It's going to be very, very interesting, because that can go in multiple different directions. But either way, it's not going to be good for Dre. It's going to be a bad outcome for Dre, I think, regardless. But we'll see what happens.
Indeed, yeah, we'll see what happens. But that's basically all the things I wanted to bring up. Was there anything else on this particular episode that you wanted to discuss?
Just one quick thing I want to mention. When at the end, when they broke, when you know Angela's team found out that she had hid that evidence, they made mention of, you know, I remember Mark came into the office and said, "Hey, we found something on Councilman Tate," but they did not go into any detail as to what that is. Now, obviously, they have to get into that at some point, because we know nothing about Tate. We know he is crooked, but we can't really pinpoint exactly what all he is as far as being a dangerous individual. So I'm very curious to see when they address that. Obviously, that is a story that that'll probably be saved for next season. But I did want to mention that they planted that seed for a reason, and I think we will definitely find out what that's all about in the future.
Oh yeah, I definitely agree. I think that's something that's going to come back, and they love to plant seeds like that. So yeah, I think that's definitely going to be something, because the way it happened, it's like, I think it was Mock, he brought it up, and then obviously Sax cut him off, and he went into the whole thing about the ballistics evidence and stuff like that. So they definitely said that for a reason. So
yeah, and they're going to have to investigate him anyway, because they know St. Patrick is working with him for this whole organization. So I think, yeah, that information is definitely going to get revealed sooner or later.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, was there anything else that I missed?
I can't think of anything else. I'm glad to see that I saw they killed that Connect, that other Connect, and if I had to make a guess,
oh yeah,
when they wrote the script for this episode and they decided how we're going to kill this guy, hey, I got an idea. Let's watch Luke Cage season 2, and let's see how they killed the Jamaican guy in that episode with the fire. Now I will say this. The special effects in this was a lot better, because in Luke Cage season 2, that it looked absolute trash when they set that guy on fire. So, but yeah, I thought that, you know, that dude, that's a hard way to go for that character.
I was thinking the exact same thing. Like, yo, did they get tips from Luke Cage or something? Like, that was hilarious. But yeah,
they're tying up all loose ends. And obviously, you know, Diego is now the target. So we're going to see how that goes. So somehow, I don't think that's going to go as you know, according to plan. There's going to definitely be some hiccups in that on both sides, but we'll have to see. And I'm pretty sure next week, because again, the trailer for next week, it did show a lot of people with a lot of characters with different guns. Not really too many shootouts, but there's definitely going to be a lot of action going on next week, I believe.
So do you think Alicia is going to become a major figure in the show? Because, you know, now her brother might be going out, you know, Jamie, if Jamie succeeds, her brother might end up dying. And then, you know, it's going to just be her. She's going to be the only Jimenez left. Like, do you think she's going to become like a major player and a consistent part of the show after that?
Oh, I think that is very, very likely. The whole thing with her is that they had her playing in the background, and really, as we had said on other episodes, it seems as though she is the mastermind behind everything. Her brother is a little bit crazy and does a lot of reckless stuff at times. And like I said, I believe we said last week, if it came down to her having to kill him, oh, she will absolutely let that happen. And we got confirmation of that this week. You know, she let Dre tell her, oh yeah, I got someone to kill her, but he didn't say who is going to kill her. So that's going to be interesting because obviously Ghost said he'll take care of it, but I don't know if Ghost meant that he individually is going to take care of it, or if he is going to try to get some help in taking care of that. Maybe he'll contact Kanan, or because if you try to contact Tommy may not want to hear any of that and be like, no, I'm not doing any of that. But there definitely is going to be some consequences for all of this, and I do think that character definitely is going to take a much bigger role moving forward. That is, if they don't decide to kill her off the show. But I do think that ultimately, if I had to make a guess, because of how the writing has been, I would love for them to kill off Dre, but I feel that they may not do that, and they may have him stick around with her, going well into the next season. Hopefully they don't do that, but I do think for right now, it does feel as though she is protected. Her brother is the one that definitely will not make it past the season finale. He gonna get killed either the next episode or one of the following episodes after that. That is definitely coming. And as for Jason, yeah, that character also needs to get taken out. But we'll have to see how they handle that. One final thing I did want to say is I still am curious to see if the Italians are brought back, because I kind of feel like they introduced those characters for a brief period of time, and then for them to just completely disappear from the season, there's no way that they may come back in this again. So I'm curious to see when that actually happens and under what circumstances.
Oh yeah, I definitely think they'll be back at some point. Whether they're going to be friendly to Tommy and the rest of them, I don't know, but I think they'll be back in some capacity.
We do know that Kanan is sort of on good terms with them, so they may work with him, you know.
Yeah, he could probably call in a favor because he saved their life from something he set up himself. But
yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. We only have, like, I can't believe it, but we only have 4 episodes left already. You know, this season's been kind of flying by, and yeah, I mean, so far it's a very questionable season, like we've said, but it's definitely not one of the stronger seasons of Power. But I'm still very much interested in seeing where, you know, how this season ends and what they're leading towards and what the climax is going to be. And, you know, depending on how things play out, I think they could have a great season 6, you know, depending how this season ends. But, you know, we just got to wait and see what happens. But yeah, this was one of those episodes that's very, like, transitional. And, you know, not too many major things happen, but like it seems like they're just kind of building towards little things. Yeah, they're setting up the final 4 episodes, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens next, I guess.
I agree. And if Stars does watch this video, I just have one request. Please, please, please air all 4 episodes over the next 4 weeks. I do not want them to take a week off to make us wait longer for the final episode. Please air all 4 of these episodes week after week after week so we can get to the finale. I know people want to catch up. They can easily air that on the day before and have people catch up. Have a marathon leading up into the finale. But please do not take off a week, because it's very disturbing when they do that, especially if something really, really big happens on the episode before last, and then you have to wait longer to see the finale. So hopefully they will air the next 4 episodes back to back to back over the next couple of weeks, but we'll see about that.
Yeah, do you guys have any major holidays coming up?
Yeah, Labor Day is coming up, but that's the beginning of September. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because if everything stays on track, then I think the final episode is due to air on the 2nd of September. Or if there's no breaks.
Yeah, because the holiday is on the 3rd, so September 3rd. So we'll see about that. Because they may still say, "Oh, we're going to take a week off." I hope they don't do that though, but we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, we're almost at the end, so let's see what's in store for us. But for now, that's it for Powercast. We're definitely back on schedule now, so you know we're going to be here every week. I don't think any of us plans on taking any more vacation or anything like that. And even if we do, we're going to make sure we still do the show somehow. So yeah, I apologize again for the delay on the last episode, but I was away and I was somewhere that didn't have reliable Wi-Fi. So yeah, we had to wait a few days. But we are back on schedule now. We thank you guys for listening and commenting on the show. I look forward to all the comments on this show, especially with such an interesting episode that we just watched. And yeah, if you guys got time, make sure you check out the website, thekoalition.com. That's Koalition with a K. And definitely check out some of our other entertainment and video game, news and podcast discussion and everything like that. But for now, we're saying goodbye. So peace out, everyone.
Peace out. We'll talk to you all next week.